Hello all and welcome to this week's beer review, which I am going to dub the, beer review. Good to know. I guess it's getting closer to summer, so it's going to be called a summer beer review. You can see it's kind of bright out. Super bright out. Yeah. This camera is not very good. If I had a better job, I would go and invest in a normal camera at this point, but I don't have a very well-paying job, and I have dental work that needs to be done pretty soon. My teeth are starting to tell me I really need dental work done. So yeah, we're stuck with this camera for a while, but I really need to go and, change things up a bit. I mean, how many years have I been doing this like this? It's time for an update. Time for me to challenge myself, I guess. So, what are we reviewing today? This is from Kohola Brewery over there on Maui, in the former Maui Brewing location in Lahaina. And this is the Mr. Ukulele Belgian IPA. 7.1 ABV. It's a version of their triple that's a bit less malted and more heavily hopped. Hops are Jariho hops, which are ones I've never heard of before. Then I'm not really a master of hops. So why don't we get to this, shall we? Using the Belgian glass, of course. Give her a nice vigorous pour. Give ourselves a bit of a good head here. Because who doesn't like a bit of good head? So, coloration is, let's go and use the daylight here. I'd say in golden orange, really. Rather on the dark side for a Belgian. With a thick white to off-white head. Pretty thick for a growler fill. Yeah, very interesting smells. There's some sense of that Belgian yeast there, and those typically somewhat sweet Belgian malts. But the phenolics are kind of low. Smells spicy, peppery almost. Some hints of banana. And definite floral aspects, too. Tropical spices. The cloves smell... Interestingly, I'm going to say they smell closer to cloves, but they don't really burst like, when I say cloves. It's close, you know what I'm saying? It's a bit closer to cloves than the usual Belgian kind of smell of cloves, but it's not as strong. Not much in the way of coriander. I don't know if there's any coriander in here. Dry for the Belgian IPA style, really. A sort of bitter orange taste. Not very sweet in the mids. With a kind of pithy, zesty finish. Slightly resiny in the front to the mids. Not much carbonation in the mouthfeel. And actually, it's actually kind of thin mouthfeel for a 7.1 ABV, and slightly astringent in the finish. That might be just me being a little bit oversensitive to hops nowadays, since I haven't been reviewing very many super hoppy beers. There's some nice sweet notes and clove notes, sort of on the edges and above the drying hot bitterness in the finish, the lasting finish. More effervescent notes are actually more interesting than the mouth notes, which are kind of dominated by the bittering aspects of the hops. All in all, they might have toned down the malting just, well, I wouldn't say at 7.1, there's probably quite a bit of malt that they added to it. But it really feels like they let the yeast use up maybe a little bit too much of the residual sugars. Because it comes across as slightly unbalanced to me, anyway, at my palate. All in all, I haven't reviewed the Sweet Home Lahaina one, but I'm kind of curious now. So all in all, there's some great notes there, especially in the nose, more effervescent bits that kind of sense up here rather than on your palate. But sort of very muted, very diluted, and kind of covered up by the bittering aspects of the hops. And, I kind of want to taste what the original triple tasted like, to tell the truth right now. Because there's these great flavors on the fringes, and kind of immediately as it hits the tongue, and then, the hops kind of kick in, and it's, kind of annihilates the rest of it. So, I guess I'm going to go and look forward to the the Sweet Home Lahaina triple, which is the older brother of this Mr. Ukulele Belgian IPA. As it is, I suppose if you like Belgian IPAs, and there's not very many in Hawaii to try. I think this is the first locally brewed Belgian IPA that I've had. I've known there's been several before so far. As style, I don't know how difficult it is to make, per se. I know Belgians are a bit on the tricky side, because they use that special yeast and, generally the adjuncts that go into the brew and whatnot. So, your mileage may vary with this one. It's been a while since I've drank Belgian IPAs heavily anyway, so, or pretty much anything heavily, since I'm a once-a-week drinker nowadays. So, it warms up to kind of an herbaceous side is appearing in the finish as well, just to note before I wrap it up. So that's your beer review for tonight, folks. Mr. Ukulele Belgian IPA from Kohola Brewery. Well, if you're a completist, yeah, definitely drinkable, but just not to my liking. Kind of comes across as a bit overbalanced to the hop side, covering up some of the more interesting and subtle Belgian notes derived from the yeast and malts. And that's a beer review for Nightbooks. Cheers.